Hello everybody and welcome to the news video on part 2 of the World Trigger and My Hero Academia crossover event on Jumputi Heroes. There's still lots of stuff going on from part 1. If you missed anything from part 1, there's only like a few missions that are like no longer available. Everything else is still available, like the gacha and the events and stuff. So if you missed any of that, link in the description to go check that out. But let's talk about part 2 now. Login bonus is just rubies, very straightforward, no extra stuff this time, so just log in and get rubies, which you're gonna need them with what's coming up, so make sure you do log in. And if you missed out on the part 1 login bonus, don't worry, it's still running. So if you're just joining the game now, you will get both login bonuses. This event here is a community event, defeat the enemy and drag out the leader. It's just, you get these points, these defeat points, by clearing stages during the event period, any stages except some of the like 1 stamina stages and stuff. And if as a community we can collect 8 million points, we will get a free multi-ticket. Not really a lot to it, but you know, free multi-ticket, can't really complain. Then we have the part 2 missions, very similar setup to the part 1 missions. You earn this, the proof of service, by clearing these missions here. These missions, even more straightforward than part 1. There's no legend summon involved or anything like that. You clear the daily stage once, which should be easy. You have to get the 2 Transcendent class units and the Catastrophe class unit to level 99. So that's evolved to 6-star, level 99. And then you have to get the 2 Transcendent class units to max luck. You do not need to get the Catastrophe class unit to 99 luck. And finally, you have to clear Unity Battle Shigaraki 7 times. Now, while Unity Battle can get a little bit tough once you get up to like stage 30 or whatever, stage 7 is not going to be that hard. So just get to stage 7, clear that, and you'll get your rewards. You get 100 rubies for each one you collect, and then if you collect all 8, you'll get a special emblem. Even if you don't care about the emblem, you probably care about the rubies, so make sure to do that. This is the daily stage, exactly the same as the part 1 daily stage, just clear it every day. And then we have our first new unit to talk about, and that is Twice from My Hero Academia. Some people a little bit mixed feelings on this one. I mean, the name of the event would suggest that this is sort of Twice from the current arc of the anime, which is a very popular arc in the manga. But this is not. This is Twice from earlier in the series, more like you know, when Bakugo got kidnapped, around that time, or just a bit after. It's not really the Twice the title would suggest. Does that mean we'll get a version 2 at some point? Maybe. Hopefully, I would say. Hopefully. I feel like he's a high enough caliber of character that he deserves to be maybe like a Dark Heroes gacha, or maybe like an Ultimate class event or something, but I think there should be another one. But let's talk about his skills. He's a Transcendent class event, so we're not expecting too much in the way of skills. His ultimate attack is damage plus ultimate attack damage boost for himself, so damage to 1 enemy. It's an alright amount of damage, 314%. His front line is okay in that regard. His passive reduces bleed damage received for this unit, which, I mean, there aren't many units that do that yet, so that is good, and boosts this unit's attack by up to 19%, not bad. Frontline is pretty solid for a Transcendent class, I gotta say. He also gets an additional, like 11% ultimate attack damage boost when your HP is 65% or less, and an additional 10% normal attack damage boost when your HP is 65% or less. That's from luck skills, so that's not bad. That is not bad. Then you have the buddy skill, which I actually think is quite good. Quite good indeed. Reduce the number of turns of weakening for yellow and green team members by 1. Recover up to 3,350 HP. And for 1 turn, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for yellow and green team members by 2. So very strong. Very, very strong for a Transcendent class unit. You know, especially for stages like if you still haven't beaten like the original Genkai Battle Meruem, this could be a good candidate to have on your team, because you're not only getting weakening reduction by 1, you're also getting some heal, and you're also getting some skill bubble reduction. So pretty cool. Solid unit. I would say solid unit. So if you like Twice, hey, go get into 99 luck. Then we've got our Catastrophe unit. Now, I do have sort of mixed thoughts or feelings on how World Trigger has been handled in this event, but I think I'll save those thoughts until more the end of the video, and I'm going to focus more on the character's skills for now. So let's talk about Gatlin. Gatlin is a free-to-play bleed unit, which I am totally okay with, because I think that does give him quite a compelling kit. His passive is kind of bizarre because it's got 2 restrictions on it at 2 different points, but essentially you have to connect bubbles to get an attack boost, but your HP has to be above 50% to get additional bubbles converted before the turn. 3 yellow bubbles to blue, that is. But I think that's still pretty cool, because I mean the 3 yellow bubbles to blue is going to help you with the ultimate attack, because obviously in order to utilize bleed, you need to pop the color of bubble that the unit is, and in this case that would be blue. So that's going to help. And obviously if you're popping blue bubbles, you know, if it's converted 3 yellow bubbles to blue, you're more likely to connect 2 or more, so you might get that additional attack boost. And the luck skills are, you know, HP 35% or more. That's not a bad restriction, 35% or more. And you get an additional, what, 15% attack boost, 10% normal attack damage boost off that. That's quite reasonable, I would say. That's quite, all in all, I think his kit's not really that bad. I mean, for a Catastrophe class unit, I could definitely see people using him here and there. The only thing that might let him down is he doesn't have any inherent, like, resistances, immunities, anything like that, but maybe more use just as like a hitter at times. Like, there definitely could be some argument for that. Yes, he doesn't buff your team members. Yes, he doesn't weaken your opponents. Yes, he doesn't have any sort of inherent counter to any particular stage, but I mean, bleed in its own right kind of does that with like barrier and guard and damage reduction, so he could see some use. His support skill gives you 6 red bubbles to green, and then reduce the appearance rate of red to 0, and then reduce the damage received for blue team members by 1500. So that's like the blue version of, I think, Darby, right? I think that's just the blue version of Darby's support, and that's a good support. I think I said that when we reviewed him, so I'm not going to complain about that. I think a solid kit for Gatlin. Very, very good. And then another Transcendent class event. We have Retarikov. I think that's how you pronounce it. And let's talk about his kit. So he has the same thing as Twice on the luck skill, where when your HP is 65% or less, boost this unit's ultimate attack damage by 11% and normal attack damage by 10%. But the ultimate attack, 308% damage to one enemy and 360 damage reduction for red. Might have some use. I mean, that is sort of giving survivability to red team members a little bit. At a 2-turn stack, that's not bad. I mean, it's not like 1,000, but it's like 800 and something. No, 720 damage reduction. That's not bad. The passive skill, 70% counter guard. I don't really care about counter guard. I mean, it's going to be useful on stages where there's counter, but there aren't that many stages. And I'm not that big a fan of it. And an unconditional attack boost, which you can't complain about. Then you've got the buddy skill. Reduce the number of turns of weakening for red and yellow team members by 1. For 4 turns, boost the ultimate attack damage of red and yellow team members by 14%. Now, to me, this is sort of just a weaker version of Twice's buddy skill. Because, I mean, yes, it does technically do something different, but Twice is giving you the weakening reduction for yellow and green, whereas Retarikov is red and yellow. In Twice's case, you're also getting a decent chunk of heal, 3,350, and you're getting a skill bubble reduction for yellow and green by 2. Admittedly only for 1 turn, but that's essentially another resistance added into his passive, or added into his support. Because you could use this on a stage where you're getting weakened all the time, or you could use it on a stage where you're getting skill bubble extension all the time. It would counter both of those problems, plus you still get the heal. So, it's pretty good. I mean, and then you look at this one, it's not as good, I don't think. The ultimate attack damage boost might lend itself better to stages where you're going to be bursting, I suppose, but it's not as appealing to me. It's not quite as appealing to me. But again, they're both Transcendent class units, so you can't expect too much because they're quite easy to obtain. They're okay. They are okay. And that's it in terms of farmables. There's only 3 farmables in this second half. There's not even like a legend summon in this second half. It's a bit odd. It feels a bit odd because this is longer than part 1, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Then we have the Unity battle. Now, one thing I noticed while I was looking up information before this event, it's been a very long time since we had a standard Unity battle that doesn't add anything extra. Like, it's always either a bonus Unity battle or a Unity battle that adds a character, be that, you know, like a traditional character like KG, which, by the way, it feels like we're only getting 2 of those a year now. I don't know if that's true, but that might be the case. And then you might not get a traditional character. You might also get characters like this Mecha Frieza we had, or that Hyoe Todo we had, which are sort of like special mission ones. And there's also legend summons, like the Kenshin one and the one in the Majin Buu Unity battle. Like, there always seems to be a little something extra added on. It's been a long time since it's just been standard Unity battle, nothing new. But this, in my opinion, shouldn't count, because all you get is 2 chat stamps and an emblem. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like... I honestly can't explain it. I cannot explain it to you, but it just doesn't feel special to me that much. Like, the costumes do, because I'm going to be using the character and you're changing the appearance of the character, and that's pretty cool. But the chat stamps and the emblems, it's like, I'm going to have so many different emblems and I can only show one. Whereas with the costumes, every character I get a costume on, if I'm going to use them, you're going to be able to see it. And then with the chat stamps, admittedly, that's probably cooler for the Japanese players who could use it in their chat. It's not going to appeal as much to me, that's a given. I'm still not sold on emblems. I don't know, it just doesn't feel that special to me. It's a weird thing to have as like a big reward each time. But it's cool that we can get little things added from different series into the game that maybe are not characters and therefore wouldn't normally be added. Anyway, that's a pretty standard Unity battle. Try and get to 3 million points at least. Or at least enough to do the missions, which is not a lot, just clear 7 times. Then we have the Epilogue event, which is the same as the Prologue event. And bizarrely, this event kind of ends on the 22nd/23rd. It kind of ends around there, because this event starts on the 22nd, but all the farmables and stuff have come and gone by that point. Well, not gone, but they've come and they've been there for a while at that point. So effectively, this marks the end of the event. But then it goes on for like another week, which is not ideal, but there is a reason for that, and we kind of knew that would be coming, and we will talk about that a little bit further down the post. Then we have the tower boost, which, I mean, this kind of shows you where the true end of the event is, because tower boosts always come out like right near the end, and this tower boost is going to be coming out finishing on the 19th. So it's already going to be over by the time this Epilogue event comes out, so that tells you what you need to know. And then we have Limited Gacha, Yuma, and Bakugo. I'm still not 100% sold on the whole crossover limited thing. I think it's a very cool concept on paper, and to be honest, these units are kind of cool as well. Like, while I don't personally see the matchup between these 2 characters, except for the fact they're kind of like the odd couple, like they're a purposefully strange pair up. It's still kind of cool. It still kind of works in a way. I just don't think... I think, like, having 2 crossover limited straight away, and the fact that we hadn't had any crossover units except Luffy and Goku for, like, a year and a half, it feels a bit weird. I feel like that maybe there should have been a free one and a gacha one, or something. I don't know. But I hope there's like more balance towards how it's handled in the future, you know. Say, for example, you did like an Akira Toriyama sensei feature. I know we haven't had a sensei feature in ages, but for the sake of argument, say we did have one. You could easily do a Goku and a Raleigh like limited crossover character. But just as easily that could be a free unit to tempt people into coming and playing the game. So if you wanted to make that limited, maybe you could choose another pair up of characters from the series and make that like a free thing that people could obtain coming in to try and get them excited to play the game. I do think it would have been nicer if there was at least one free crossover unit. But still, I mean, you know, there's ups and downs to it, and I think my opinion will change as time goes on and we see more of them. This is not a bad starting point, I guess. It's okay. Let's talk about the unit themselves, though. Obviously, a limited. The big selling point is the Putty Shot, which is similar to the Osiris Yugi that came out, and that is on the passive. So reduce bleed damage received for this unit by 4,330, and there's not that many units that resist bleed yet, so that's pretty good. Then unconditional attack boost of 15%, that's up from 3% at level 6. And then you get the Putty Shot, which is just, if you use your ultimate attack at the end of the turn, 7 blue bubbles will be shot at the enemy, and it'll be 3,200 damage times the number of bubbles shot, inflicted as fixed damage to the enemy. It's a very strong ability because it not only gives you a little bit more control over the board, but it also gives you additional damage, and it's fixed damage, so it's going to bypass like guard and barrier and damage reduction and stuff. So it is a very strong ability. Then you have the ultimate attack itself, which kind of just feels like a whole bunch of stuff. You've got 515 damage up from 465 at level 6. And then if the enemy is DPS class, you inflict an additional 30% damage, which is okay. It's just a little extra something. Then for 2 turns, boost this unit's attack by 10%, up from 7% at level 6. And then the same with ultimate attack damage, boost that by 10%, up from 7% at level 6. And then for 2 turns, reduce damage received for this unit by 1,200, 5,000 in tower. So there's a lot going on there. I think people are going to have a lot of fun using this particular unit during the tower boost week. I personally think they're trying to find a way to balance it, so the Putty Shot is the big selling point of the character, but the standalone ultimate attack is still strong. I think a lot of the time, you know, the ultimate attack is the big selling point of the character, you know, like say for example if they are a very strong weakener, or if they have, or even the last duel unit, the Jin and Deku, they had bleed on their ultimate attack. That's a very strong ability, and they've kind of balanced that out by having lots of little things on this ultimate attack that will help you get more out of them, I guess, whilst still being able to use that Putty Shot, which is very strong. So it's interesting, and they're quite good. I don't know if their kit is particularly appealing to me, but if you're a fan of these characters, it's not a bad option to go for them because they are quite strong. And then the buddy skill, we shall talk about that before we move on. Convert 1 red bubble to a skill bubble, convert 2 blue bubbles and 4 block bubbles to yellow, and for 2 turns boost the ultimate attack damage of yellow team members by 19%. For 2 turns reduce the attack of all enemies by 19%. And that is up from a yellow attack damage boost of 11% and an attack down of 12% at level 6. So for me, that support is decent. There's a lot going on and it's definitely useful, but I think it's not like limiteds always have a decent support pretty much. And in recent years they do. And yeah, for me it's not particularly appealing, the attack down on all enemies. Like, it might see some niche use, but generally speaking it's not that useful. Even if it does go up as high as like 19%, like most stages where it's useful, you can no longer use attack down on enemies anymore because they realized how cheap it was and how much you could cheese stages. So the only argument is like maybe for PvP, and I don't even know how useful it is for PvP. So, especially because if there's ever a point where attack down became a problem in PvP, there are units that just straight up remove it. You could have 100 attack downs on an enemy, and they could just use a support and get rid of all of them in one move. So I don't know. It's definitely good. It's definitely a good support. I just think the attack down bit at the end is like could have been something else, and it would have been a bit better. Still very nice though. Then moving on to the standard gacha. This is a very strong standard gacha lineup. There are some arguments to be made about it. There's certain characters, but you know, it's a very good lineup. Very, very good. And we're going to start off with Kazuma from World Trigger. Let me load up his skills here. So, he inflicts 465% damage to one enemy, 405 at level 6, and inflicts 18k fixed damage, 10k at level 6, and then charges the Legend Summon Gauge by 3%, 18% in tower. This is an interesting skill. I don't know how useful it's actually going to be in practice, but I like the idea of being able to chain together Legend Summon buffs in PvE, you know, every turn getting 3%. That's pretty cool if you can, you know, make it work. 3% is not a lot though. 18% in tower, that is quite a lot, but I don't know how much use you'd actually see in tower. Admittedly, the fixed damage might have some use nowadays because everybody seems to be using damage reduction on those silly damage reduction supports. So maybe, but I don't think so. The damage is decent. The fixed damage additional is decent. It's just decent, I think. You know, in a way, in a sense, it does work its way around certain barriers and stuff because fixed damage does get past barrier guard damage reduction, obviously. And you're, in addition to that, getting Legend Summon Gauge charge. I mean, it's alright. It's alright. And then you have the curse reduction by 3 and the unconditional attack boost. Only 4% at level 6, but up to 18% at level 12. It's okay. The attack boost is not as high as maybe I would like it, but the curse reduction, very, very nice. Then the buddy skill, convert a random bubble to a skill bubble and boost its blast radius by 1. Converts 3 random bubbles to blue, goes up as high as 6 at level 12, and then inflict 17% bleed weakening, 25% at level 12, and inflict 14% freeze weakening, 20% at level 12, to one enemy for 2 turns. So this is a new skill. Bleed weakening didn't exist before this, although it was probably to be expected. Bleed has become very popular, and you know, you need support for it. So bleed weakening to come along with our freeze and burn weakening that we already have, it makes sense. I don't know how I feel about this skill. I think there's definitely some potential for how it could be used, but I can't help but feel that eventually we'll get a bleed version of like Yoriichi or Kenshin support. You know, they do the burn weakening and freeze weakening to a good degree, give you a skill bubble and give you a few rainbow bubbles. And that's like, that's a very good skill. And once that skill's out, I feel like it would just be so much easier to use them than this. And the PvP structure as it is, in my opinion, doesn't lend itself well to using 2 damage over time units. Unless you're going to use like a 3-turn burner and then like a 2-turn freezer. And I don't think there is like a 3-turn bleeder, so I don't really know how that would work. But I mean, I don't know. It's a good support. It does have use. I just don't know if it's like a game changer. I don't think it is, but it's good. It is good. Then we're going to talk about Hawks from My Hero Academia. Inflict 500% damage based on this unit's recovery that ignores guard to one enemy. That's 435 at level 6. For 2 turns, boost this unit's recovery by 18%, only 13 at level 6. And for 1 turn, reduce damage received for this unit by 1500, 6k in tower. I'm not a super big fan of the 6k in tower damage reduction. I do feel like that's sort of a thing they throw in just for power week and then you never use it again. But the 1500 in PvE is pretty solid, I would say. And then you also get the recovery boost, which lends itself well to this unit because this unit obviously does damage based on recovery. Recovery-based damage doesn't quite have the support normal damage does yet, but we are definitely getting some strong recovery-based damage units that can see some use in the future. Bear in mind, attack down will not work on a unit that does recovery-based damage, so that's cool. And it ignores guard on top of that, so pretty solid front line. The passive is an immunity to bubble extension and a recovery boost that starts at 7%, goes as high as 22%. Again, recovery just missing a few support units to really be quite useful. Could also do a couple of limiteds doing recovery based damage, but I guess we'll wait and see what happens on that front. Maybe with the next event, who knows? Who knows? And we'll talk a bit about that later. But the buddy skill. Convert a random bubble to a skill bubble, convert 5 blue bubbles and 4 block bubbles to green, only 2 blue bubbles at level 6. And for 1 turn, reduce damage received for green team members by 800, 45,500 in tower, only 11,000 at level 6. So this is another one of those supports, the like, I think we call them the PvP cancer supports, and it's fine if you enjoy playing PvP. If you don't, I mean, it exists. It's not a bad support to use in PvE anyway, because it does give you good control of the board with the bubbles, especially on a stage with block bubbles. But yeah, this is a ability that will be very good and very well used in PvEP. I'm sure all the people that love using Boruto will be happy that they will have another green unit to go alongside him, and then you'll have one giving you the amazing heal, and then you'll have one giving you the amazing damage reduction. How joyous. Not for me, but for somebody, I suppose. But I do like Hawks as a unit, generally speaking, and I think the recovery-based damage thing, there's definite upside potential for the future for recovery-based damages. Just waiting on that little bit of support. Then we have Kei Tachikawa from World Trigger. Inflict 400% damage to one enemy, only 350 at level 6. And if the enemy is DPS class, inflict an additional 40% damage. You also get a 1-turn attack boost for DPS and special class team members of 25%, only 19 at level 6. This is a unit that certainly has some potential. The only downside for me is the whole thing of the attack boost for class instead of type. I'm not saying it's bad, because it's not bad, it's just, it's not intuitive to standard team building for stages. If there were more stages that required you to use like rainbow teams and stuff, and then it didn't matter what type the characters were, it just mattered what class or whatever, then yes, totally. But almost every stage in the game is suggesting you should bring along units of one particular type, and I don't know, it just doesn't lend itself well to any particular stage. It will be good for probably the one stage in this event that it's sort of made for. Beyond that, I don't know. You can make it work, but I don't think it just naturally falls into place anywhere. The good part about this unit is boosted damage to DPS class, and then on the passive, if the enemy is DPS class, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for this unit by 1. But we'll talk about that, because the by 1 is actually at level 6. It actually goes up to by 2, but only if you get him to level 7, which is kind of a pain because he's a standard gacha unit, which means you either got to pull a dupe or use a jewel on his passive. That's kind of not great. And then there's also other additional bonuses. I mean, normally standard gacha units, the bonuses they get on passive is like plus 1% attack from level 1 to level 6, and then level 7 to level 12 is like plus 2% or plus 3% attack or whatever. But here he gets a bunch of extra bonus stuff after level 6. They're expecting you to get him so much, they're expecting you to get him to like level 9 or whatever. Like, I know like old units used to have that, but they kind of stopped doing it, and then every so often you get a unit like this and it's like, do you actually expect me to get him to like level 8, level 9 just to get the most out of him, like properly? And when I say get the most out of him, obviously that would be the case regardless, because you always get buffs, but like the extra bleed damage reduction up there, the extra bubble reduction up there, that's huge. That's huge. That makes the unit so much better. Okay, he reduces bleed by 3,880 if you do happen to get him up to level 8. And you get an additional attack boost at level 9, which goes up as high as 8% if you get into max level. You just won't have that at level 6. So I'm not a big fan of all this locking stuff away type deal. But he's got a good support. Undoubtedly got a good support in my opinion. And then the buddy skill, recover 4,500 HP up to 6k at level 12. For 2 turns, taunt all enemies to target this unit's buddy. For 4 turns, boost the ultimate attack. Wait, what? For 2 turns, taunt all enemies. Yeah, that's right. And then for 4 turns, boost the ultimate attack damage of yellow team members by 18% up to 29% at max level. This is like the Gen 2 taunt units. Who's the other ones? I'm trying to remember. Well, there's Makimachi Misa from Kenshin. Similar to that. And I think most people agree that these are very nice supports to have available to you and have in your box. So very cool that we're getting that here. And kind of tempting me to pull, but I will resist because I know we've got some goodies coming for 3.5 anniversary. So all in all, the gacha units are pretty decent, pretty usable. Now we've got the other stuff, the back end, the extra stuff. Battle ready gachas, no matter how tempting they are, do not summon on them. Do not summon on them. And then we have the other news and stuff. Now, before we move on to the other news, I want to talk about this World Trigger crossover event thing and my sort of thoughts on it. Because there are some weird choices. For a start, Hawks seemingly was supposed to be paired with Tokoyami. That's the assumption we're making, because this gacha is sort of uneven, and it kind of seems like part 1 was supposed to be 2 new standard gacha units, and part 2 would have been 4 new standard gacha units. Hawks and Tokoyami, and then Tachikawa and Kazama. That's, I think, what most people believe. That's why it sort of felt out of place when Hawks showed up earlier in the year with that Nightmare Luffy event and all that stuff. Okay, so if we say that that's the reason why the event feels a little bit unbalanced, that's fine, okay? I do think Hawks should have been limited. Seeing as Tokoyami is standard gacha, Hawks being a limited would have made a lot of sense. He's also one of the highest ranked pro heroes. He has a major role in the story. It is possible we could get a version 2, I suppose, but he feels like he should have been a bit more. Kind of the same with Twice. And I know this kind of sounds like I'm super biased towards My Hero Academia. Maybe I am, I don't know. But Twice, I feel like Twice plays a very big role in the story. At least he shows up enough times that he is important to the story. Maybe he'll get a version 2 and I'm, you know, judging prematurely. I don't know. But to be compared to like the Galapola Expedition Force, like, even if you're a big World Trigger fan, are these really your favorite characters? Really, honestly, your favorite characters? This is such a small portion of the story, and they kind of show up and then just get battered and then go home, and then that's sort of it. Like, Jin saw them coming, and then it's like, okay, so we know exactly where they're going to be, we know exactly what they're going for, let's deal with them. And it's like, did you really are they like your favorites? Like, I get it, maybe, I guess, as like an opportunity to bring in some characters, perhaps with the intention later to hold a feature festival for World Trigger and have some of the more interesting characters in there. But my biggest issue, I suppose, is with this gentleman here, Retarikov, and it just feels like they didn't even know what to do with him. His event name is named after like this thing he does with his ability where he lines up all the floating ball disc things and then throws them. And it's just like, okay, I mean, there's no official name for that on the wiki because he doesn't actually say it in the manga. But okay, I guess they've done stuff like that before. What's his buddy skills name? It's a quote. It says, "It's our complete defeat." So it's the thing he says after he gets destroyed and then he bails out. His passive name is member of the Galapola Expedition Force. Member of the... it's so lame. Like, yes, okay, so you've got Gatlin. He's the captain of the force. You've got Wenso, who's something named after her ability. It's put in the passive skill name, but I don't know. Even his win animation, I don't think anyone will have seen it yet, but it's just kind of, he just kind of doesn't even move. He just stands there. I know a lot of the win animations might seem like that, but my man does nothing. Wait until you see it. My man does nothing on his win animation. And yeah, I don't feel that these are the most compelling choices for enemies in World Trigger, and I think if you were trying to get people that had not seen the series before, but maybe had seen My Hero Academia, interested in this series, I don't think these are the characters I would have chosen. That's just a personal opinion. It's a very small part of the story, and I feel like even if you went with the rank wars and you made some of the other like members of different groups into like farmable units, I think that would have been more interesting. But I'll digress on that point because I could harp on about it all day. I do kind of feel a little bit like World Trigger should have got a limited. I don't necessarily know who it would be out of this batch. I think some people would agree that Kei Tachikawa was probably the only real pick from the ones we had, but like maybe a new Jin should have been limited. I don't know. I mean, we do kind of say that possibly we'll get a new, like if we do get a feature festival next year, maybe we'll get like a limited Yuma. I don't know, but there's just a few little things I would point out that to me this event was a very cool idea, and I think they pulled some things off quite well, and I think we got some very cool character additions like Rei Nasu, like Kei Tachikawa, like Hawks. Like there's some cool characters there. I know loads of people were excited for Darby. That's great. It's a bit small for how long the event's gone on. There's been a lot of time people have just been sitting around like, I got nothing to do. I'll go farm some old event, I guess. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know what to say other than some cool ideas, maybe not the best execution. But I hope they continue to try this again in the future. I just think they got to flesh out the event just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And let's talk about the other news and leaks, which I accidentally scrolled past just a moment ago. We have more sales packs. Just to give you my quick review of each of these. This first one is not great. I personally wouldn't purchase it. This second one, pretty good. 490 yen for 500 rubies is not a bad price. You might want to buy that if you're a little bit short. This pack is one of the King's 30-day pack. Yes, admittedly, you have to wait 30 days to get all the rewards, but for 30 days, you will get 100 rubies a day and a jewel fragment a day for a total of 3,000 rubies and 30 jewel fragments. So essentially 3 jewels for free. And normally, if you were getting 3,000 rubies and 3 jewels in a sales pack, it would cost you 10,000 yen. It's only costing you 2,940. Massive markdown. So if you are going to invest money in the game, this is one of the places you should do it. Don't know when this is coming back, but I assume it will be soon. Then we have the 5-star sales pack. I highly recommend you do not purchase this. Admittedly, it does have an updated paw, so you might be able to get characters from like 2021. Like some of these characters are from 2021. But notice that Inosuke back there, that's an old Inosuke, and unfortunately that is a sign that you could be getting much older characters on these tickets. It's going to be pure RNG, and I do not recommend it for the price. 2,940 yen. 2,900. You get 3,000 rubies for that. Don't be buying this ticket. Don't do it. Don't do it. Then you've got the skill pack. Don't buy this. You can get scrolls just from farming stages. You do not need to buy them. 1840 yen for 500 rubies is more than you have to pay. Don't do it. And then limited gacha. And these are these are dangerous bait. Do not fall for the bait, please, because I know they're so tempting. Look at them. These banners have such good characters on them, but just don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Admittedly, I could see the temptation. And look, if there was any of these banners where you didn't have any of them and you needed a strong character for that type, say for example, if you didn't have any strong blue units, okay, maybe go for that one. But don't make the mistake that a lot of people are going to make where they do 500 on this one, and 500 on this one, and 500 on this one, and 500 on this one, then 500 on all the other ones, and then they have no rubies left for the anniversary. Don't do that. I know they're going to give us a lot of rubies for the anniversary. Just moderation, okay? maybe if you're tempted, do the 500 on one, and then leave the rest. Maybe if you're really tempted, go all the way on one, but leave the rest. Trust me, there are so many bait gacha every time the anniversary is coming around, and it doesn't just stop with these four. This banner looks crowded as hell, holy hell. But yeah, all these banners have good units, so if you do end up getting baited and you end up going all the way, don't feel too bad about it. But then we move on to Rengoku getting reprinted, and Tanjiro getting reprinted, because we are getting a Kimetsu no Yaiba reprint festival. They did this last year as well. I don't really understand why, but this could be a sign we're getting a Kimetsu no Yaiba feature festival after this event, and I just kind of don't really know what to say about that. But if it does happen, hey guys, hope you're ready for more Kimetsu no Yaiba. We've pretty much covered the whole story at this point, but there's a couple little bits left. Let's go nuts. It's such a shame. I love Kimetsu no Yaiba so much. Like, when I read it, I was like, oh, this is so sick. But this game has just mercilessly milked the hell out of it. And I've lost a lot of my love for it, I guess. I don't know. Just seeing it every time, like, they just can't help themselves. Yeah, we're getting a Kimetsu no Yaiba reprint festival and the countdown to the anniversary, so that's cool. If you do get tempted to go for Tanjiro or Rengoku, I suppose that's fine. I mean, they're both amazing units, but yeah, whatever. And then we have this damage reduction breakthrough gacha banner where all the limiteds ignore damage reduction. Don't summon on this. Come on, don't summon on it. I know it's tempting. It's got like 2 2021 limiteds in there. You've got Boba Pachinosuke from last year, who's amazing. But you've still got Goldman on there, who I love as a character for this game. I love that he's a limited in this game. But I would not be spending like 7,000 rubies to get him now. Like, back then maybe. Now I wouldn't do it. And that's potentially what you could end up with out of this gacha. So I don't recommend summoning on this. And again, if you're doing 500 on each of these banners, 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 3,500, do you see how that could be a problem? Look, just a recommendation. Maybe do the singles. Maybe do the discount singles. 25 rubies. It still adds up, but it adds up to less. So maybe do that. And then we have the countdown event, which they've shown this off to everyone. Everyone can see that this is coming. From the 23rd. So, like I said, the 22nd, 23rd, kind of the end of the My Hero Academia event, and that's when the countdown and stuff begins, and we'll get to My Hero Academia, the Kimetsu no Yaiba reprints and all this stuff. And nice little event's going to give us some rubies, going to give us some little break doors, can't really complain about that. It's also going to tease us on the characters that will be coming in the 3.5 anniversary. Now, we have not 100% confirmed these characters just yet, but we're sort of certain on 3 of them. The 4th one, it's still up for debate, I think. Unless somebody's like noticed it since then and they think they know who it is since then, fair enough. But right now, 3 characters we're pretty much saying. So this appears to be Suna from the early future arc, and it's like the scene where he's like defending Kyoko, and he you know, it's a big moment for him. It's a big moment for him. For the Kimetsu no Yaiba, for fuck's sake. Katekyo Hitman Reborn fans, you know, this was a big moment for Suna. He was, you know, he was really scared, and he didn't know what to do, but he knew he had to defend Kyoko, because even though he doesn't want to be involved in this mafia bullshit, he certainly doesn't want to get other people involved in the mafia bullshit. And now that he's in the future, he's got no time for this cowardly stuff. He's got to get on it. He's got to get to work. Big moment, very, very cool, and looks like he's coming to the game. I assume it's that version of the character anyway, could be wrong. And then we also have, next to him, I believe her name is Coca, or Coca? Something like that. But it's it's Kagura's mother from Gintama, or at least that's what it appears to be. And I don't really know Gintama that well, but sure, cool. And then we'll skip the third character because we know the fourth character is Corazon from One Piece. And the third character, we don't know yet. My current belief is that it could be Masaki Kurosaki from Bleach, Ichigo's mother, from earlier in the series, not earlier in the series, earlier in the timeline, when she first meets Ichigo's dad, and their whole little story they have there. Now, I can't 100% match the image to the sprite, because there's something weird going on at the top of the head, and I can't tell if it's just like the angle the character's standing at, or whether this character's wearing some kind of hat, or beanie, or halo, or headphones, or ornaments, or something. I don't know. And it's fun to speculate, but I have no idea. This is the character I think it looks most like, but you might disagree. Now, I am going to do a full video talking about what I'm expecting for this anniversary event, but I will quickly talk about the fact that we have one other hint about what this may be, and that is the Jumputi love ticket. Now, this may not be a sign that this is the theme of the event, because we have had other events in the past where they've had a special ticket that's essentially just their way of saying thank you to us, and they give us a bunch of free summons. But if indeed the theme of the event is love, that may make some sense. You know, Corazon, his name literally means heart, but there is also the relationship he has with Trafalgar Law, where in essence he's sort of like a surrogate father figure, and his love of, well, I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's you know, it's been and gone in the anime, so I suppose I can talk about it. He sort of gives his life for the sake of Trafalgar Law. An act of love. A beautiful moment in the series. Beautiful moment in the series. Please, for the love of God, do not give us that trash version 3 lore that they got on the Taiwan server. That was so disrespectful to the Taiwan players, because it was just version 2 lore with his hood up. They hardly changed the sprite at all. Not a fan. And I really hope we don't get that version of lore. If I want us to get a limited lore eventually, because I think he is more than deserving of it as a character, but that version they got sucked, bro. That sucks. Don't give us that one, please. And I don't think they will, because when we had the same situation with Zoro, where it was just like, oh, we've got Zoro that's basically just an upgraded sprite of version 1 Zoro as a limited on a Taiwan server. Over on the Japan server, when we got our first Zoro limited, it was Wano Zoro. And while I don't think that's necessarily fitting for limited, because it wasn't later in Wano, it was earlier in Wano, it's fine. It's fine. Then with the other characters, Suna, I mean, I mentioned before his like moment of defending Kyoko. Yo, we could get Kyoko. I mean, I don't know if these characters are going to be farmable or gacha, right? It's kind of hard to tell. It could be a mix of both. I don't know. There could also be an argument for Suna to be countered by something else. Could it be like Giotto? Could it be Adult Reborn? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And then we have Gintoki? Kagura's mother. And I don't know Gintama that well, but I have been introduced to Kagura's father at this point. I mean, I'm about 100 and something chapters in, and his name's Umibozu, and maybe plays some role. I don't know. The Gintama fans would know better than I would. And then we have Masaki Kurosaki, which, as I mentioned before, this would be the version of her from when she met Ichigo's dad. And if not for her love of Ichigo's dad, at least for her love of her children, she is a character that definitely embodies the idea of love, so it makes total sense. So we'll talk at more length about what I expect from that event in a separate video. But to round out this video, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, possibly consider supporting us on Ko-fi, link in the description. It does help out with us keeping the site up and running, not just the news site, but also the database. And I do see the people that do support, and they leave little messages, and I really do appreciate it. We're not quite at our goal yet, but any progress towards the goal is massive, because it's just less financial burden for me, so I really, really do appreciate it. And I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, and I will see you all next time.